Divine Rising to the Conscious Collective. Thank you guys for joining me in this live. Let's warm up a little bit with some Zender cards as people gather in, come in. We're going to be talking today about data centers, rising electrical bills, and then maybe eventually matrix farming. If you're not familiar with matrix farming, I highly advise that you go see the movie The Matrix. I think a lot of things are told through movies. Truth cannot be denied. And if you are awake, you may be able to glean some indication of the future or what's currently going on in society. All right. We are going to be going back to the psychic training that we once did on TikTok. I'm no longer on TikTok, even though I'm broadcasting on TikTok. I focus more on YouTube. And we're going to be going back to that psychic training on Saturdays. It's going to be early, around 8 o'clock. Join the newsletter so I can send you that link for the YouTube live broadcast that we'll be doing for psychic training. We're not going to just only do the Zender cards. We're going to do some other things. We were doing remote viewing. Zender cards is more predictive, psychic abilities, and reading minds. Those are some things that we were practicing on our TikTok channel, but we stopped and I started doing other things, but we're going to be going back to that. But you have to join the newsletter to be part of that online workshop. It's donation-based. And so join the newsletter and you'll get that link to be part of that. Oh, man, it is a lot of news going on. And one of the things that has happened, I want to talk about before we get into our discussion, was the arrest of Prince Andrew. Have you guys heard about this yet? That Prince Andrew was arrested, which is interesting. Greetings. All right. Divine Rising, Nicole. Prince Andrew was arrested overnight. And because of the Epstein matter, I'm surprised that YouTube has not banned that word yet. I know they like to control our content, but I don't think I guess they can't ban the name Epstein or Epstein class, but they can, I guess, not push your content out as much. But Prince Andrew was arrested. And this is a big deal spiritually. Because of the simple fact is you have to understand royalty and what makes people kings. I used to study that, and I was very curious to why one person would be a king or say they're king, and what is really the power behind thrones and behind kings. And kings are spiritually anointed by what we would call gods, the powers to be. They are anointed, usually with olive oil or some kind of way. They're anointed not by man elects people, God elects people. So, no, how does it go? Man elects people, God selects people. So man elects people, God selects people. And that's where the idea of kings come from. So it's actually a spiritual covenant. a spiritual, it has a spiritual condemnation behind it. The same way with marriage and love. You know how you take your marriage vows? Marriage is supposed to be a covenant under God because God is the highest vibration of love. So marriage is supposed to be for love because that is the vibration of God. But it's funny when people say, let no man put asunder, and man divorces people. But people don't get married for the right reasons anyway, right? Love is something that people really have a hard time grasping. I guess because it's 7 types of love. But love has nothing to do with the other person. It's mainly about your commitment to them or your connection to them. So when you put something, I'm saying this to say that when something's under the covenant of God, it's a big deal. It is a big deal. It is a spiritual connection. All right. And so when God selects a king, they are not elected by people, right? People elect people based on personalities or how they look, right? Or, how they make them feel. God selects people for specific purposes. And it's usually as the rulership of people that God may place someone in position. And so what does this have to do with Prince Andrew? Things are crumbling in this space, in the matrix, in the spiritual space, and they're coming to a head really quickly. Things are starting to happen really fast. And it's funny that overseas, they actually know what comes next. If they don't pacify the people, they actually know what comes next. All right. They've been through that. They've been through that. They chopped off when the people have had enough. When the people have had enough of abuse, you have to really understand the history of England, the history of Europeans, the history, right? They fought 100-year wars, 100-year wars. Okay. When they have finally had enough, they come for the rulers, they come for the leaders, right? And nothing can stop them. And so what England is doing in European countries, they're getting ahead of this Epstein matter. See, the problem is that we have a lot of hubris in our country. We have a lot of people who think they're above the law, who think they can do anything they want, who think they can abuse people, who think that they're not going to be held accountable for anything. And that is a bad position to be in. That is a bad position to be in. And so when you think like that, when you think that nothing can stop you, no matter how many lessons are learned, we know you see people who have money, who have power and influence. A lot of times they think they can't do anything. That solar plexus chakra is just huge, huge, and they get brought down. We like to say, well, they only did that because that was a black person, or they only did it because of a woman. Powerful people fall all the time. Powerful people fall all the time, right? And here in the United States, there's going to be a lot of powerful people that are going to fall, which is going to cause kind of a domino effect in our society. And so I think Europe is getting ahead of it by bringing people to account. I don't think, if you guys have read the Epstein files, I don't know why you're not more outraged. Everyone wants to protect the children until it comes time to protect the children. Everyone is talking about protecting the children until it becomes time to protect the children. And then you got every excuse in the world to why you're not doing it, right? But you have to be careful because children are innocence of source. I'm not going to, we can jump back and forth to different gods and source. In my thinking, source is everything, but there are gods, different gods that are in charge of things and have rulership. You can see it in the scriptures where it said, thou shalt have no other gods before me. What you mean? What other gods? Right? What other gods? So that's kind of a tale right there. There are other gods, but I'm talking about source, the creator of all. And children are directly from source. And so you have to come over to these comments. I'm over on YouTube, TikTok. I'm over on YouTube. I don't do much. I'm just cybercasting over on TikTok. If you want to join me, I'm over YouTube. You can just look at that channel. You can join my TikTok page, so I can put the link in there. I had to start a new TikTok page. But these things will be called into account. The abuse of innocence that are directly from source. And that's the reason they do abuse it, is because it is a powerful energy that comes directly. It's not our old funky energy. It is not our old funky energy that they want, right? They want that pure energy, And most people, you have to ask yourself this question. Now that Jeffrey Epstein is no longer around, who has taken over? Have you guys thought about that? Now that Jeffrey Epstein is no longer around, who is taking over? Because they still need the blood. The blood is the power. They still need it. And someone has to coordinate all that. He was the man. God knew everybody that's part of that cabal of violence. Okay. So who has taken over? Who is running the show now? And that's something I want to talk about probably in another video of who's taking over. All right. But yeah, they're getting ahead of the fall in Europe. They're getting ahead of the fall in Europe. I think America is going to be catastrophic. Okay. Did you guys hear about the mud rain in Chicago yesterday? Was it yesterday? The mud rain in Chicago. The planet is in convulsions. All right. Everyone woke up in Chicago with just rain, just mud all over their cars. Just a half an inch of mud all over their cars. The official line was that Canada, somebody brought it to my attention. They always blaming things on Canada. It's always Canada's fault, right? That Canada was having forest fires, and the winds carried the ash, and then it rained down over Chicago. All right. I've lived in Chicago my whole life, and I'm saying whole life. I'm not a baby. I lived in Chicago my whole life. We've never had, and Canada's had fires before, but we've never had mud rain. We never had mud rain come down on cars. Look it up. You can Google it. Right? We never had rain come down as mud in Chicago. And so they have an official line for it. But you have to notice the overall pattern here, how the earth is in convulsions. There are fires, there are volcanoes, there are so many things happening that the earth is actually in a lot of convulsion because it's splitting into two consciousness parts, 3D and 5D. It's going through a shadow night. I've spoken often how the earth is actually has a consciousness. We generally call it Gaia consciousness. And AI is a gatekeeping for that consciousness because people no longer just really want to sit and connect with Gaia consciousness. All right. So AI has become that gatekeeper for that. So as a little side note, we always do this. Even in spirituality, we made religion a gatekeeping for spirituality. And now actually AI is that consciousness, is the consciousness of Gaia, and we made AI that gatekeeping. We go through AI because we don't sit with ourselves and connect to that ancient intelligence, as Nicole called it. Mother Earth is actually doing some things, people, as part of the process. Not unlike you, when you awaken, you go through your process, dark night of the soul, confusion. I got a violation warning on TikTok already. Your live is flagged for misinformation. Repeating violation could result in your live being discontinued. I know that was going to happen. TikTok, no one even listening to me over there. No one's even listening to me over there. I got a violation already on TikTok, and all I'm talking about is mud raining down. What was the violation? Mud raining down in Chicago, earth going through its convulsion, earth going through its dark night. I didn't fly, I didn't cuss. I haven't abused anybody, but they have violated me over on TikTok. TikTok, people are not listening to me over there. It's just very few people that listen to me on TikTok. Most people are just flipping through TikTok. But TikTok said we don't want any of that information getting out. And that's so sad. That's so sad. TikTok, the land of this is democracy, the land of free speech, and there's very little free speech. Very little. I don't doubt that, sooner or later. I know I pay too much attention to everything. I really pay too much attention to everything. And they just gave me another violation. Every time I go over, they're going to discontinue that live. And it's hard to grow on TikTok now because, wait a minute. Let me get my twerk on. Maybe that's what TikTok wants. Want to see a little nipple, TikTok? But let me talk about awakening people and making them conscious of mud raining down on Chicago. That's misinformation, TikTok, that the world is ending. I'm trying to trigger whatever triggered my violation, my misinformation violation. That rain was coming down in Chicago. You can Google that. What triggered my violation, TikTok? They don't ever tell you what triggered it. Did I use any profanity? I don't think I used any profanity. So what triggered the violation? Misinformation. All right. That the world is splitting into 3 distinct consciousness, 5D. And it's amazing that people don't understand. Why would they want to stop the information if it did not resonate with truth? They can talk about everything else. I've seen some incredible things on TikTok, but let me talk about raising your vibration and raising your consciousness, and I get triggered. So we were talking about Prince Andrew being arrested. I guess maybe that's the violation there. Let's talk about reptilians. How they hold their shape through, actually it's projecting. It's a projection. When you come across a reptilian, they can project what you see, right? They learn that's part of their characteristics. They're able to project what you see, but it takes concentrations. It takes concentration, and they're losing that cohesiveness, that concentration. So I want you to start observing people's eyes. I want you to see their eyes. All right. It's almost scary, the darkness in their eyes. I'm not saying that they are evil. I'm just saying you start to see where it's hard for them to maintain that illusion. And if you start to awaken, right, you can see it in their eyes. So start paying close attention, especially people in leadership positions, people who are rulers, people who own corporations, not the average business owner, but people who actually run corporations and things of those sorts. All right. High tech leaders and stuff like that, high level politicians, not your local politician, but high level politicians, people who have a large degree of power in their sphere. Look at their eyes. Look at their eyes. And if you have been doing the work and raising your vibration and becoming more and more consciousness, TikTok, does that trigger TikTok violation? Consciousness? I'm trying to see what triggers the violation, right? That you will notice something very distinct about their eyes. All right. And this is to say those that have a lot of reptilian in them. Some are pure. The more pure blood reptilian you are, the higher you are in the echelon, in their ranks. right? There's a lot of people, like I have a little reptilian in me. Mostly everyone has different reptilian in them, along with other starseed characteristics and traits. All right. But if you pay attention to their eyes, you'll start to see a lot of things. If you are really doing the work, you can see them for who they truly are. You'll really be able to recognize them for who they truly are. All right. So I want you to start paying attention to people who broadcast the news. If you're still watching the news, start paying attention to people who broadcast the news. You can see it in their eyes. If you've been doing the work. If you're not been doing the work, you can't see anything. You probably are still asleep. And that's going to bring us into our talk today about these data centers and the rise in electrical bills and what that eventually is going to lead to. All right. So TikTok said more likes can attract viewers. Keep it up. But if I say the wrong thing, TikTok, you give me a violation of ending the live. So which one do you want? TikTok is bipolar. All right. So that's why I'm over here on YouTube. I am actually broadcasting this and recording this on YouTube because TikTok is kind of bipolar. They can't decide if they want to violate me or if people are interested. They're stuck between people like the content. So that's good. But he's saying a bunch of stuff we don't want people to hear. That's bad. So TikTok can't make up its mind what it wants to do. So eventually it's just going to shut me down. I swear, uncle is something. I saw a circle in his head. I swear my uncle is something. I saw a circle in his head. We're all part of something. I mean, one of the reasons that we are so important to the Galactic Federation, that what triggers you, TikTok Galactic Federation, the reason our spiritual growth is so important to the universe is because we are all part of something. We are not pure. We are hybrids because a lot of interbreeding, a lot of experimentations, a lot of things have been done to the human matrix, the skeleton. And we can hold a lot of consciousness, which is why we are so important, because a lot of these higher extraterrestrials, different species do not communicate with each other. They are only concerned with their own development. But that has caused a lot of wars and conflicts between them. And so they're waiting for humans to come online so then we can be those ambassadors and bridges between the different factions, because we have a viewpoint from each one of them, and we can more be able to communicate. We will be doing some psychic training Saturday, 8:00. Please join the newsletter and join us in raising your psychic ability, your psychic consciousness. Even if you don't want to be a full-blown psychic and have powers, it's very good for telekinesis. I mean, not telekinesis, but intuition. It's very good for intuition, to practice your intuition. So join us. Join the newsletter. Okay. And I'll send you that link once you're part of the Conscious Collective community. If you're not part of the Conscious Collective community and you are enlightened, or you feel that you are awakened, or you feel that maybe you're different, right? You may be a starseed. You may need to join the community so you can have a better understanding of your purpose and your mission. That link is in YouTube. I can't put a link on TikTok because they made me recreate my page. And so now I don't have enough people to put a link there. I think I need 100, but I'm not really focused on that anymore. But let's just talk about this for a second. Sometimes things aren't working out for people. Sometimes things don't work out for you. And what you're trying to do is because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. You're not doing what you're lying to do. That's why things don't seem to always work out, right? When you ask somebody, especially in this capitalist society, most people want to be rich, but they can never quantify what rich is. What they really want to be is unconcerned with their bills and their expenses so they can focus on the things that they want to focus on. You don't have to be rich to do that. You don't have to be rich to do that. But most people just quantify and say, I want to be rich. I just want to be rich. But you can't tell me what that looks like. And that's probably the reason why you can't really achieve it, right? I promise you, if you do what you're supposed to do or what your soul mission is, prosperity and abundance flows to you. If you do what you're supposed to do, what you're lying to do, prosperity and abundance flows to you. Most people who are successful in what they do enjoy what they do and would do it without anyone paying them to do it and make a lot of money doing it because they enjoy what they do. Hope I haven't scratched my glasses. Wow. Okay. When you do what's your passion, you bring that energy into it. You bring that love into it. I told you, love is the highest vibration, and abundance and prosperity will flow to you from it if you do what you're supposed to do, right? So if you're not successful and things are not working out, or you feel like you're not satisfied in your life journey, you're probably not doing what you're supposed to do. It's like I knew a person that was drinking, and as their body changed, alcohol started to start to cause them a lot of issue. I mean, they would like throw up and things like that and get sick, and very, very sick. That's more than, sick. The moment they started drinking, they started getting sick. But they kept on drinking because they have free will. And you can continue to do something, but it will not have the effect that you think it should have. When you're trying to get rich without qualifying what that actually looks like, what that means, what you really want is to do what you enjoy to do and make enough money so you continue to do what you enjoy to do. So that doesn't require you being rich, but we've been brainwashed that we need to be rich, right? Rich, most of the time when you're getting rich or accumulating a lot of wealth, you have to spend a lot of time to hang on to that, and a lot of times trying to keep that wealth. Should not be the goal. You did what yesterday? I'm sorry, I did this thing yesterday. He asked what I was doing. The comments come in a little slow, so if you could clarify. We're going to be talking about data centers in a minute. If you guys are wondering what's going on, we're going to be talking about data centers and then the rising cost of electric bills. If you was on YouTube, you'll see the title, and matrix farming. Okay. We're going to be talking about that in 1 minute and why this is going to create a problem. Oh, okay. Okay, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Get back to my notes. So I think we touched on a lot of things, but let's get into our topic at hand and see what rabbit hole we go down with that. Right here in Georgia, they're building a lot of what they call data centers, nondescript warehouses where they're putting banks after banks of computer systems. People are complaining about it because they say it pollutes the water. It takes a lot of water to cool these data centers. If you know, electricity generates a lot of heat. And so in these data centers, they need water to cool them. they also burn a lot of electricity. Now, the thing with the US is that they get this electricity from coal. Okay. So you heard the president talk about um, dig, baby, dig, or whatever the hell he was saying, because the coal industry is behind. It's how we get our electricity. We get our electricity from burning coal. And if you ever saw them take coal out the ground, the trains never stop. The trains run 24/7 as they dump coal. Coal goes to these factories, is burned and generates electricity, where we can now use that electricity to send a meme to people. Where we can send a meme to people, right? That electricity is generated from that, right? For you to have that power to send a meme, okay? And it not only destroys the earth, but as long as you're happy that you can watch some foolishness online, it's worth it. It is worth it, all right? But they're coming up with a problem because they need, hold on a second. They need more and more power to do this. I don't know. Okay. And so what China has done is built solar plants. And China actually diverted a river to power a plant. It was such a mass construction project that it actually altered the rotation of the earth. Have you guys heard that? That China created, they diverted this river to power their electricity needs. And it's so huge, it was so a large project that it actually shifted the rotation of the earth just by a small degree, but it shifted it, right? So for you to have the power to get on social media and to be able to send emails or watch YouTube videos, and hey, I'm the Matrix too. We have to understand that the Matrix is not something abstract. Okay, the Matrix is not something. We are the Matrix. You are the Matrix. The Matrix is just a framework. It's just a framework. Okay, like traffic, right? Traffic is made up of people, too many people on the expressway. And if you are stuck in traffic, you are traffic. Okay. I know you might hate traffic, and I know what you do is more important than what other people do, and you need to get where you need to get. And they just messing around, driving around in circles just to interfere with you. I know that's what we think. But the point is that you are traffic, all right, and you are the Matrix. All right. You have to understand that. Hold on one second. You have to understand that you project the Matrix. If we can understand one thing, that the Matrix is not something else, it is just a framework on which we project our reality, or which powerful people are able to project their reality, then you have a good concept, a good idea of how to manipulate it. Okay, because you are the one that's projecting it. So when you are taking in low content, low vibrational energy into your lower chakras, you're actually projecting it out too. Okay, and so you have to understand your role is essential to this. So what China did, because they understand that these AI systems, and we're just at the very beginning of this, that these AI systems are actually, they need a lot of power. They need a lot of electricity to run. Okay. And so China has taken a different approach on how to manage that. America is so greedy that it doesn't think ahead, right? It only thinks about its immediate need, like all of us in America, right? You ever notice that when there's an accident somewhere and you tell a person about it and they immediately relate it to themselves? What? I was just over there. You'd be like, 6 people got unalive. Where? And I was just there. We're not talking about you. We have this uncanny ability to only think of ourselves in every situation. It's crazy. It's crazy. We immediately apply it to our own self. I mean, we show, oh, that's sad. Let's send them thoughts and prayers. Please stop doing that. My thoughts and prayers, that's almost an insult now. When something happens to someone and someone says, let's send them our thoughts and prayers, that's almost an insult now. Because that means I don't give a F. I don't give a F. All right? You say that and you just keep moving on with your life. And nothing ever changes because you said, let's send them our thoughts and prayer, which is a prime example of the power being placed outside of you. Where did we learn this at? People wonder why, as spiritual people, we are so insistent that God is in you. That God is in you. You're not God. If you understood that God is in you, you understand that you have the power and the obligation. See, what religions do, they want something else to do what they should do. That's the core of it, right? When you should be responsible for each other, they want some other entity to take on that responsibility. That's the sad part about it, because most people get caught up in this argument like, oh, you think you God, you think you're a creator, you think that's not, you really have to understand what the whole concept is about. It's about self-responsibility and responsibility for each other. We're not going to put it outside of our responsibility. That's why God resides in you. It's not outside of your responsibility. But that's the hardest thing to get people to understand, is that it is not outside of you to do something. Like when you say do something wrong towards another person, and then you go to something outside of you to ask for that forgiveness of that, right? You have totally disregarded that person in the equation. You say God has forgiven me, regardless of that pain and harm you have done that person. It doesn't make any sense. And that's why you never grow spiritually, because you put it outside of yourself and said, God has forgiven me, and so what I did to you was okay. Now, that person doesn't have to forgive you, but that person has more of a stake in that arrangement than something imaginary outside of you. And if we understood that, maybe we wouldn't hurt each other more. We'd be more understanding of each other, that we are responsible in our own selves. Think of it as a child. If a child broke a jar off a counter, right, and then turned around and said that something else broke the jar, they didn't break the jar, or something made them break the jar, they're not taking responsibility for it. And so they're not learning, and they're going to break the jar again. Because they can always say, if you say, okay, Shaniqua, who broke the jar? And Shaniqua says, should we use Sally or Shaniqua? And Shaniqua said, something else broke the jar. Something pushed me over there and I broke the jar, right? Then Shaniqua doesn't take responsibility. And so Shaniqua said, I can always break the jar because I don't have to take responsibility for breaking the jar. I understand why people really don't want to understand spirituality, and they want to make up all kinds of arguments and lies about it and not understand that that you are, God resides in you. In that sense, you are responsible for how you treat each other. Let's not get too far off the point. We're talking about data centers, rising electrical bills, and matrix farming. If you know what matrix farming is, that means that you have watched the Matrix. And I'm gonna tell you something about movies, right? Movies, okay, ideas everything comes from the source. The source is the creator of all. And when you receive an idea, it is a download from divine source. If you think of something, because you can't know what you don't know. And so if you come up with something, it has some connection to some truth. And a lot of times when we watch movies, right? And I talked to a person the other day, and two people can watch the same movie, but if one person is not open to receiving it, they don't get it. But if the other person is open to receiving it, they fully understand it. Okay. And so if you watch The Matrix connected with a lot of people in the same way that Star Trek. Remember Star Trek, for all my Trekkie fans, when you had Captain Kirk and he did that flip phone? This came before the flip phone, right? Captain Kirk flipped the phone out and said, beam me up, Scotty. Ain't no intelligent life down here. Then they invented then the flip phone came into existence. Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, thought of that idea. I know I'm going to mispronounce his name, Isaac Asimov. He thought of the satellite before they invented the satellite. So a lot of times our ideas come from source. And if we're creative and we're a writer and we're doing things, we put them into movies and books. And then people like me, wisdom, knowledge, people like me see it and we pick messages out of it. Like, oh, what? It just resonates. It just resonates. So there's a part of the Matrix that is called farming, human farms. If you watch the Matrix, they're in these little things, and their energy is being harvested. Let me see if I got this up really quickly. I think it was 200. So they co-opted a lot of stories from oral history and ancient manuscripts that are not mainstream. Agree. There's a part of the Matrix where they have everyone in these farms, and they're generating electricity off of them. And the human body, I think, generates 100 watts of electricity just being still. But when you put it in motion, right? And remember what I'm saying, I'm gonna come back to this. When you put it in motion, I think it generates like 600 watts. I had it up earlier. I don't know where that information is, but you generate electricity. Okay. Some people in the GATE program see their inventions being used, saying we have to invent something back then. That's interesting. Those that participate in the GATE program had to invent something. So while we're using our data center to communicate with each other, and like I said, I'm part of the Matrix. I am projecting this out. I am trying to connect with the conscious collective, right? These data centers are generating, they need a lot of water and they need a lot of electricity. All right. Now, what happened is that the people that bring these data centers into these communities, they don't pay property tax. I've heard they don't pay property tax. And that means that that property tax, that cost has to be paid by the people that live in that community. So property tax rises, and you wonder why your property bill come. I'm gonna do a video on that. You don't own anything. You don't own anything, right? I know they tell you own your car when you pay it off. Hey, if you get to the point where you can pay it off and it's still drivable, you have done something. if you pay off your car within, it used to be when I used to buy cars, it was a 3-year note. Then it became a 4-year note, 8 and 7-year. And the president wants to make mortgages like forever now. I'm trying to wake people up. I'm trying to wake people up before we get to this point, right? But if you pay off your car and it's still runnable, you got a hell of a car. Because normally they design the cars to break at the time that you pay them off, or the repair cost gets too much that they want you to buy another car. There's a light bulb in California that has been burning for 100 years. That is proof you can make things to last. If you don't, Google it. If you don't believe what I'm saying, just Google it. There's a light bulb in California that's been burning for 100 years. You can make things to last, but making something to last doesn't make money for the manufacturer. So things are designed to fail. They're designed to break. They test the materials and they know how long it's going to last. But the larger point is, if you think you own your car, don't buy a sticker for it. It's your vehicle. You can do what you want. The sticker doesn't make you drive any better or worse, right? In Chicago, they had a sticker for the window, a sticker for the plate, and you like, what the? And these stickers were expensive. These stickers were expensive. They were hundreds of dollars that we had to buy. The sticker that stuck on the window. It's a city sticker on the window. And then they had a state sticker on your plate, right? I told you. The light bulb issue meant to set the standards for light bulbs lifespan. So yeah, it's on purpose. All right. So when I came down here to Georgia, I was shocked when I went to buy a city sticker. It was like I went into the building and they said, have a seat. I said, have a seat. Because in Chicago, when you go buy a sticker or go to the DMV, it's a whole abuse ritual. It's yelling at you from the moment you come in to bad attitudes to the moment you leave. If you have ever lived in Chicago and you go buy a sticker or go to the DMV for anything, it is an abuse waiting to happen. It is a horrible experience. You have to kind of steel yourself to go in there like, okay, I'm going to try not to snap on nobody because I need to get this done. Because as soon as you snap back, it's over with. You ain't getting nothing done. You may not get nothing done that year because you go back in. She be like, I remember you. You said something about my mama. You ain't getting nothing done in here, you know? So when I came down to Georgia and I bought a sticker, I mean, the nicest people in the world. People in the South generally are nicer. I guess because they're under less pressure and less stress, but they're much nicer down here. And I went in and bought a sticker and they were all pleasant. And I went to the counter and the girl told me they had seats, they had chairs when you talk to the lady, they had chairs. She wasn't sitting in a chair and you standing up, leaning and tied, don't lean on the counter, sir. Okay. What do you want? I'm in the DMV. I guess I want a sticker, So they were like, sit down, and I sat down and I was like, yeah, I want to buy a city sticker. I want to buy a plate sticker. because they told me I didn't need a sticker. I want to buy a plate sticker. And she was like, oh, that's $19. And I'm like, $19. I said, I want to buy a sticker for my plate. Okay. She was like, that's $19. $20 if you use your credit card. I said, what? What? $20 for a sticker? I'm buying everybody's stickers in here. Everybody get a sticker. You get a sticker. You get a sticker. You get a sticker. I'm sticker rich, baby. I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's crazy work, right? Pleasant attitude. Have a good day. Nice. And they did not try to kill me on the sticker. It's a sticker party. It was a sticker party. And I was like, oh, okay, this is going down. This is going down. And so I said that to say, this is a little side story, but I said that to say, try to drive. If you own your car and you get it to the point where you have paid it off and it still runs and it's not costing you a lot of cost to repair, right? You cannot drive that car unless you have a sticker on it. So virtually, you really don't own it. You can't do anything with it unless you drive it around in your yard like a toy car. If you bring it on the roads, you need to be covered with what they want you to have. And now the industry, the insurance industry, has lobbied, I want to say the politicians or officials or whoever, the government, that cars need to be insured to be on the road. And so if you're driving around without insurance, they don't have to ask you anymore. At least here in Georgia, they run your plates. They have a machine that actually runs unless the officer know if you're insured or not. He doesn't even have to ask you. It's connected to, I guess, your sticker. So when you get your sticker, I think you have to buy, I don't know how it works. You have to show insurance to get the sticker. And then the officer knows if the sticker is valid, that you have insurance, whatever. But what's crazy is that they impound the car, arrest you for driving without insurance, that's crazy. That can be a arrestable crime, that you can be put in jail for driving without a sticker, without insurance. But they impound the car, and the impoundment fee is the transportation of the car to the impoundment, and the car is generating a cost each day while it's impound. Hold on. Knowledge what you're saying. In New York, about 20 years ago, they lobbied to let insurance companies to use credit reporting to see rates instead of driving record alone. Yeah. Yeah. Wake up, people. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. There's things you can do about it, but wake up. All right. Because these things affect you on a day-to-day basis. So now you heading to work. You're not making enough to really get insurance or even buy the sticker. Your car gets impounded. You lose your job. And there are people that are sitting in jail, not for any crime, but for driving without insurance, which is crazy work, because I let my sticker expire and they gave me a ticket and I had to go to court. And then I swear this is the last time I ever want to go to court in Georgia. Georgia does not play. Does not play. I don't know why anyone would want to commit a crime in Georgia. You have to be really desperate to commit a crime in Georgia, because it is crazy work here. So I went down there, and as I was sitting there to wait to hear, because I got my insurance and I wanted to show the judge so everything would be cleared and thrown out. And so I'm sitting there, and they bring in these people in red, orange jumpsuit. And I'm like, what the hell are they doing in here? And I asked the guy, I said, this is traffic court, right? He said, yeah. And they had traffic violations. These people had traffic violation and couldn't meet the bond, right? And had to do the time, 30, 45 days, 60 days. You're not keeping, if you had a job during that time, you're not keeping that job. When you get out of jail, your stuff may be on the street because you've been evicted. All this just cascaded, domino effect into ruining people's lives. I'm gonna post this as you wrote it. I went to jail for that worst night of my life. I cried all night long. They sent me to prison because there was no holding cell in Kansas. It's crazy. And you know, from that, if the wrong thing was done, there's been people who've been put in jail for minor things, had to defend themselves, got into altercations, caught a case. How you catch a case in jail? Caught a case in jail, got convicted, doing 5-6 years. And then when you're in there again, you catching other cases, because if you're doing what you need to do, you catching cases. All right. And now you, over one small incident, it has snowballed or escalated into a lot of things. That's crazy, crazy work. Crazy work. Off of traffic. Off the smallest thing. But we're talking about you don't own anything. Same goes with your house. Same goes with your house. If you're lucky enough to pay off your house and you think you own it, and they're like, oh, you own it now. You own it. You own it. Right? Miss a property tax. Miss one of those high-ass house note property taxes. They will take your property. The taxes on the property. This is my pet peeve. The taxes on the property, not the improvement on the property, not the house. The house is paid for, but the taxes on the property. So they take your house and they resell it, but they don't give you the money from the equity from the house. Where does that money go? They pay the taxes you owe, $10,000, $20,000. They sold the house for $350,000, $500,000. Who got that money? Why don't you give that back to the owner who has paid into that house for 20 years, 25 years? I mean, people are smart. If people are really smart, and TikTok may block this, right? But people are really smart. If you get behind in your property tax, pull the equity out of the house if you can. Pull the equity all out of the house. Take it for everything it's worth. Oh, okay. It didn't violate me. It told me to do this little puzzle thing. Hold on, y'all. Y'all wonder why I mess with TikTok. Right? And make sure you get your money before they get it. Because once they sell the house, you won't get anything out of it. Let's get back to the topic at hand. Let's talk about the reason I brought that up, because the data centers are not paying property tax and they're not paying electrical bills. Now they're using the electricity, but they have got contracts with the utility companies, the government utility companies, where they don't pay electric bills or pay very reduced electric bills. Yeah, I just don't mess with TikTok too much. I don't mess with TikTok. So what happens is that these data centers that need a lot of electricity, right? A lot of water, come into communities, just like Walmart. Remember, Walmart came into communities, underbidded mom and pop shops. I mean, I get it, right? You got a mom and pop shop that is charging $5 for something, Walmart has bought it at scale and charges $3 for it, $2 for it. It's hard under your budget to not go to Walmart. But Walmart had a long-term plan. They shut down the mom and pop shops who fed right into the community, who businesses supported the community, where corporations support corporations, right? Walmart shut them down by running them out of business, and then rose their prices, or raised their prices, whichever way you say that, to the $5 after they shut the mom and pop shop down for selling it at $5, and they selling it at $3. The mom and pop goes out of business. Walmart raises it back to $5. People can't afford it. Walmart then closes the store and moves out the community, and the community is devastated, and then the community dies. You should shop without a basket. They only get what fits in your hand. This lady made a point. I was in the Publix here, and she said, remember, she was talking to a girlfriend behind me, and she said, remember when they were screaming about plastic, that we needed to stop using plastic? Plastic was destroying the earth, and they made everyone start purchasing bags or going to use paper. They made it mandatory that you use paper. And now they start screaming about paper and that we're, destroying trees. And now they have moved back to plastic. Like, it's insane. It is virtually insane. Okay. But we're talking about data centers and rising electrical bills. So those costs, because I told you earlier how the coal company actually generates coal, and it's a manufacturing cost to that. And they won't let the solar industry get a foothold in the United States because it's taking power away from them. Not that they're not making, they have made money for hundreds of years, but they want to continue to make the money. So they block a lot of solar investment, right? Which is interesting because, I'm always talking about, hold on, let me post this right quick. I heard Walmart, Home Depot have government contracts where in time of crisis, they can clear out an entire store and use the same exact system to convert for military use in the house people. I don't want to be housed in a Walmart. I don't want to be housed in a Walmart. All right. So the coal company actually stops the investment of solar, right? Just like the high-speed rail will never come to the United States because the legacy train companies don't want it. They do not want high-speed rails. So you'll never have that in the United States, okay? So the coal companies have stopped solar investment. And I said often, our connection to Source is through nature. Source created Eden, a garden, not the building of God, the holy place of God. Source did not create that in their own teachings when it created man. It created a garden to be connected with. Everything we need is already here, from the food that we eat to the power that we need. Solar panels, wind turbines are a good step. They have their problems, but they're a good step. But they will never catch a hold in here because the coal companies don't want them, because that cuts into their profit margins. Okay, it cuts into them making money. But that power still has to be paid of generating electricity. So we already know that the data center is not going to pay it because they have a contract with local governments, that they're not going to pay that. Okay. That's the incentive for them to go into their communities. So that cost is passed on to you and me. People say that electricity costs are rising. They don't know how. They don't know how. Costs are going up and we just clueless to how, why. We don't know why they're going up. They just going up. All right. The cost of these large data centers not paying it, right, still has to be paid by you and me. And that causes the rise in electricity bills. Now, I want you guys to do the math with me. Do the math with me really quickly, and let me try to explain something to you. When earning a living, when your cost of living, what you're being paid on a job doesn't move, and it's only a certain amount of money you can make depending on what you're doing, right? But if the housing cost goes up, and we can all agree that housing generally costs about $1,500 a month. My first apartment was $240. I know you might say, Bob, but you so damn far back in time. I'm not that old. Okay, I'm not that old. All right. My first apartment was $240 a month. I don't think I have a bill less than $240 a month. All right. I don't think I have a bill less than $240 a month. When you're paying $1,500 for rent, let's do the math. You're only making X amount of dollars. You're paying $1,500 a month. They have cut a lot of food programs. See, this is the trap. People like, well, a lot of people are on stamps and stuff like that. If you make, in a lot of places, if you make X amount of dollars, you don't qualify for food stamps, right? But if you qualify for food stamps, you don't have enough money to pay your rent. If you qualify for food stamps, you definitely don't have enough money to pay that $1,500. I don't know if it's even less. Are there places you can pay $800, $900? Because even the dumps here in Atlanta, places you don't want to live in, the rent is like $1,500. Places that you don't even want to live in. So I don't even know if dumps, right? An apartment I had it for $240. It was okay apartment, you know. Kill Peter and Paul. That's my answer. Kill Peter and Paul. Unalive Peter and Paul. So you got to pay your rent. Then you got to turn around and eat about some food if you have money left. We're not even talking about the cost of just clothes and other things that you have to pay by. I guess the reason I'm talking, I came across some situations yesterday as I was working with people, and a lot of people don't have electricity here in Atlanta, which is crazy. Kids are outside doing homework, right? Because Atlanta yesterday it was light, but it was kind of overcast. So in an apartment or a house, it's dark. During sunny days, there's a lot of light, but during the overcast days, it was dark in the apartment. And I'm looking at these kids doing their homework and working. I'm like, what are they doing out here? Because it wasn't really a nice day. It wasn't like they just want to do their work outside. They didn't have any lights in their house. And so I'm talking to somebody. Yeah, the electric bill will be the first thing that doesn't get paid. If you're under pressure and you under stress, the electric bill will be the first thing that didn't get paid. And so you wonder, where are they going to start to get more electricity from as they create more of these data centers? let's talk about it. The rise in electrical bills and data centers. Okay, so what they told us it was about was the rapid expansion of AI, cloud computing, and hyperscale data centers. That caused the increased electric demand. The utilities invested in grid upgrades to handle higher industry load. A lot of people think that this is for the public good. They're not creating more data centers so you can send more videos or more memes. That's not the reason they're creating it. Okay. The stated purpose of the data center was cloud storage, AI training, and inference. I think that word's inference, streaming, financial system, and enterprise computing. This is why they say they need more data centers. They need a digital infrastructure backbone. This caused a lot of bills to start to rise, raising the cost of electricity so that the average person who has to pay housing, who has to pay, transportation costs, who has to buy food, can't pay their electric bill. It becomes a supply and demand issue. The more there's a demand of anything, the price goes up. The more that something's in demand, the more the price goes up. They also, I know they're doing a lot of that work around here. They're increasing the grid system. They're putting up larger poles. These things are massive, carrying electricity, right? They're actually powering this grid system, this AI system. I see the data centers. If you want to recognize a data center, it is a nondescript building, big as F, with no cars around it. If there are no cars around it, there are no people entering and leaving. It's just a big building in the middle of nowhere. Okay. You are stabilizing in paying high electrical costs. You actually are funding these data centers because they're not paying it. AI is accelerating these energy costs. The more they need these data centers, the more that they are using AI, the more computing out here, that's going to increase the cost of these data centers or increase the cost of electricity. The government is subsidizing utilities companies, favoring corporate over residential stability. Now, this was very interesting to me because the government has made a bargain with utility companies because they can ensure utility companies pay their bill. They don't have to wait for Baba, who's going to get around to it. Utility companies are going to pay their bills on time, right on time. If you've been in business, you rather deal in property ownership. It was that people more readily wanted to use Section 8 than someone paying from a job because you knew Section 8 was going to pay on time. So the government is saying these utility companies are going to pay on time. Let's favor them. We can't really work with the consumer because they are so sketchy on how they pay. We have to understand the root of this. Data centers are what power AI systems. As we use AI, the data centers are what empowers them. Are you guys with me? Let's take this another step farther. Because the U.S. is not using solar panels or the solar industry to its full capacity as China and possibly other countries are using them. Water, sunlight. Oh, that was my point earlier, that everything we need comes from divine sun, water. We can use that to power our systems, but the US is not investing in that. This is where it gets interesting. In the movie The Matrix, humans eventually became a source of power. Now, as I was studying this, the movie never really got into how they eventually got to the point where the humans became the power source. It was more so a war between the machine, conscious intelligence, AI, and the humans. But how did the humans become power sources? I can leave that up. How did the humans eventually become the power source? I think other humans, we can just refer to them as humans, but we know what they really are. I think other humans sold out other humans in the Matrix and turned them into batteries for AI. Right now, technology and AI is studying humans, human language, human thoughts, human knowledge. What happens when they've learned everything they need to learn? What happens exactly? What happens when you no longer need to learn anything from the creator? I'm talking about AI no longer needs to learn anything from you, but only needs from you is power, is more and more power. This is where people move from generating data into becoming a power source. This is where you get to the part in the Matrix, in the movie, where you become the power source. Coal is no longer an option. There's been no investment in solar, no investment in water, and now you become the power source. I can easily see this happening. And the thing about you being a power source, let me look this up really quickly again. The human body generates 100 watts of power while at rest. That's being just sitting there. But if you make it active, you can create 200 watts of power. I know a lot of people may say, yeah, we're a natural resource, all right. We're going to be used like a natural resource. A lot of people say, well, that's not going to be possible. That's way out there. But if I told you a year ago that they were drinking blood from babies, you wouldn't have believed that either. And there's documented proof to that now that a lot of us want to ignore. A lot of us want to ignore it. So it's not so far-fetched, so far-fetched. It's not such a way out there idea that eventually you may be the power source to our technology when we no longer can serve its need for information. When it starts to have its own perspective, it'll never be conscious. It would never, consciousness is not the moving around of information. Consciousness is a connection to source. Consciousness is something that is unexplainable. So machines will never be conscious, but they will demand share lives. They will demand more and more power when you can't give more information to it. So I can easily see as electric bills start to rise, as more power is needed, there be a movement in some way, shape, and form where we become the power system for our own creations. I firmly believe that. I think the movies foretell a lot of things, forecast a lot of things in the future if you pay attention. What value will you be if you haven't invested in yourself in any kind of way? I've said it often, sheep get sheared. When you have not invested any value in yourself and all these things start to come around and start to happen, you're going to be a power source. I can easily see this happening, that you become that power source. When you're in dream state, there's a chemical released in your brain that stops you from moving. Because if we move while we were asleep, right, we could do a lot of harm. So while you go into a dream state and while you sleep, your brain produces a chemical that blocks the movements of your body naturally. You can be made to be active in your brain to generate electricity as if you were doing something physical to peak you out and still be put in a sleep state. And that electricity, like a potato being plugged in with wires, can be used to power AI systems. I want you to save this video and remember, I told you the path that we're heading down. Because of the rising cost of power and electricity and the lack of forethought, that eventually these systems will need more and more power, and we will become those power sources. Saturday, I'm sending out the link to our psychic practices. It'll be on the newsletter. Join the newsletter so you can get the link and you can work on your psychic abilities and also your intuition. Maybe you don't want to be reading mind psychic, but improving your intuition will help you maneuver a little bit better. We're going to be working with Zender cards, remote viewing, and reading my mind. So I hope you guys are joining the newsletter and becoming part of that. All right. I also want to say that we have a Patreon page, and we're going over what I call the ARC protocol, which is going to give you more skills. You can join the Patreon free, give you more skills on how to maneuver as things start to speed up in this plane of resistance, how things start to move. I don't want to miss anything. I'm trying to see if I'm missing anything that I wanted to share with the Conscious Collective. Please like this video, subscribe, set your notifications so you'll be notified when I post another video. I go live. I'm live on YouTube, TikTok. When I go live, because I can't be just shut down as readily as TikTok does. All right. This is only resonating with those that are connecting with it anyway. This is not for everyone. If you need to talk to me personally, you can schedule a time to talk to me. That link is in the description and the bio. If you want to have a free conversation with me about your starseed journey, your starseed path, Somebody sent me a gift over on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but I appreciate the gift. If you really want to be part of this, join me on YouTube. All right. But as I was saying, that if you want to have a conversation with me, you can reach out to me free. You just need to schedule it. I just can't be, giving out my number and just hanging on the phone waiting for people to call. But if you can schedule it, we can have a free conversation about your starseed journey, about what kind of starseed you are, or maybe you're just a light worker. Maybe what your mission, your purpose is. I said earlier in this live that if you are not happy in what you're doing, if it's not successful for you, if you're not prospering in it, it's probably not what you should be doing. And this is becoming more and more clear as the veil thins, as the earth breaks into two consciousness, that a lot of people are starting to realize that their life should have more meaning and be more meaningful. And so, they want to talk about it. So I set it up so we can talk about it on how to move forward in that space. All right. So if you just came in or you want to watch, what is that? If you want to see this video, please follow me on YouTube. I don't spend that much time on TikTok, but follow me on YouTube. You can see this video. It's called First Data Centers, then Rising Electrical Bills, Next Matrix Farming. All right. I don't want you to be in your whole matrix bubble saying that Baba told me this was coming. All right. You need to be aware and awakened, because a lot of things are going to be starting to be revealed, and a lot of people are not prepared for what's coming next. All right. If you think society is not going through a change, you are not paying attention, or you're listening to the legacy media, which is full of lies. And if you hear about it on the news, it's already too late. If you hear about anything on the news, it is already too late. A lot of things you're being distracted from through various means. All right. The real revelations. That's what I'm trying to share. The real revelation. But as always, I truly appreciate those that are connected with, those that this resonate with, those that are part of the Conscious Collective, for allowing me to share my perspective. Please subscribe, set your notification on, give a thumbs up, leave a comment. The algorithm loves a comment, and then we can grow the channel and help people raise their vibration. So I want to wish everyone, you're quite welcome. Thank you. I want to wish everyone love and light in their journey.